All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. We'd love you to support this show. Please like, follow, and subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Your likes and subscription helps us to grow and attract interviews and content. So please retweet and share our posts. Your contributions are appreciated. Welcome to episode 434 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today we've got Marcus Almighty Mark.
Greetings.
The one and only voice of reason, Ken.
Hey.
And St. Louis Kiss, Lonnie.
What's up?
All right, guys. What's the news this week? Well, Live in the Galaxy, double vinyl, a whole bunch of different packages went on sale today. I think a couple of the color combos are already sold out. There's one left. Interestingly, it does come with a bonus 7-inch single with Let It Flow and Empty Soul on it, which aren't on the album. So that's a real nice touch this time. And you got signed, unsigned, and then the Super Deluxe package, I think, comes with a t-shirt as well. So check out Blabbermouth, check out the FAQ, check out your Facebook feed, follow Bruce Kulick, and if you're so inclined, support that. Talking about vinyl, Mark, you finished signing your covers yet?
Yeah, I'm actually down to the last 5, but the thing is that even though I'm going to be done signing them, I still have to keep them here for about a couple of weeks, and then after that I have to bring them back to Train Records because they haven't started getting to my vinyl yet, like to actually press it yet, and they have so many orders on their shelves or they don't want to get everything all mixed up and lose boxes. It's just crazy there. So they said if I can hold on to it for 2 weeks, then when I get started with my pressing, I can bring it back and then it'll be done like dinner. Thank God.
So Train Records doesn't want a train wreck.
Yes, exactly.
Right. All right. Any comments from last episode? I can't even remember what that show was about.
Oh, we got a few comments from last week on YouTube. We talked about a few different things about songs that didn't belong or seemed out of place on some albums. And Snake Hips 3131 said, "I still love you. I never felt it on Creatures. Didn't like it sandwiched in between I Love It Loud and Killer. The album was so heavy, and it seemed just to not fit. Good song, but wrong album." It's a good observation. Aaron Phillip from Australia, he says that I think Boomerang seems out of place on Hot in the Shade. The rest of the album is radio friendly pop, and then boom, there's this on full speed. There's this full on speed metal track. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron's a long-time listener of the show.
Cool guy.
World. And then Thrifty says, "In Ken, we trust." I really don't know what's going on there. Jeff for ITV says, "Another great episode. Always love when the FAQ talk Kiss." So thank you for commenting, everyone, and thank you everyone else for listening. We do read all your guys' comments.
Yep. Just not live on the show every week.
Correct.
Too many.
Yeah. All right. So I can't think of anything else. There'll be a special episode coming up next week. People who are celebrating Creatures of the Night anniversary today are early. Not to sound like one of those guys that used to rage post corrections. There's a website that's actually dedicated to correcting some of those things, and I can't remember the name of it. So, but the press conference took place on October the 28th, and there's a quote during that press conference about it coming out, and the pre-release party was in Virginia, in I think Richmond. I can't remember the name of the record store on the 22nd, and 25th is the release date. It's that week. Release dates back then, they shipped them out. They pretty much went into the racks when they received them. So may have been a week later.
That's not true. They didn't put them in the racks, at least not here. I mean, they put them. They had they wouldn't put them out early until either that morning or midnight when after they closed the night before.
Even in '82.
They put out on Tuesdays. It was Tuesdays.
I know it became militant, by the time I was buying records. It was like, it's not release day yet. Well, have you received them yet? Yeah, they're in a box in the back.
They wouldn't let you have it.
Yeah, no, that was commonplace later on, but release dates prior, they seldom publicize the actual release dates.
True.
They would say things to the effect of coming out around this time. Well, around this time.
You had to call the record store all the time. I used to call them and say, when
do you have it?
When is the new Kiss record coming out? That sort of thing.
It's that Ken guy again.
Yeah.
Please, go away.
So whatever.
Like disguising his voice.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. When is the next Kiss album coming out?
Okay, Ken, we know it's you.
What do you mean, senor?
All right. Well, whichever the case, it varies. So there you go. Talking about new Kiss albums, and this is the most recent Kiss album that we're going to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Monstrous. Now, is it a monster of an album or is it a monstrosity of an album? That's what we're going to determine. Looking back at a decade since the last full Kiss release, I'm actually still in a good place with this album. I'm still happy that we got 2 albums from the band when they, decided to fix the error of Psycho Circus being the final recorded work. Obviously Sonic Boom came out, and then a couple years later we got this. So from that perspective, I'm still happy, but a decade since the last full album of new Kiss music, and they're about to celebrate their 50th anniversary, which means that 20% of their career has been albumless. Is very depressing. They haven't even had a new song out since Samurai Son, or did they do a cover after that? It's been far too long. Lonnie, what's your review of Monster?
It is depressing when you think about it, Julian. That we've had 10 years with no new Kiss album, and from '98 to '09 we had 11 years with no new Kiss album. So that's a good chunk of time of the band's history right there. Of no new music coming out at all, but they're a legacy act, and they became a legacy act really when they put the makeup back on, and I think they're comfortable, and they're obviously comfortable with it. So, I listen to a lot of Kiss this week, and we'll get into it, but it's aged. I don't know how well it's aged. Probably in the last 10 years. So, get into it.
Yeah, I think we're going to get an idea about that as we go through the song rankings. And this episode is, of course, a song ranking. Everyone has submitted their favorites, their list of Monster songs, including the bonus track, from favorite to least favorite, and we've ranked them accordingly. Daniel, who's not here today because it's way past his bedtime, has submitted his list as well, so there'll be 5 of our opinions represented on it. Ken, 10 years since Monster. How's it doing for you?
For me, it hasn't aged well. I think I think we did another Monster, or talked about Monster a year or 2 ago, and even from that point, I think I like it less than I did then. But it's at least some of the music on there is. A few songs are pretty good, but I wish they wouldn't have ended, which seems like they're ending on, that being their last album. I wish they tried one more. I think they could have easily improved over Monster with a newer album. So,
all right, Mark. Mark?
Are you muted?
Oh, sorry. There you go. Sorry.
I guess you are.
I had it turned down because I was listening to something for a second there. So this album is kind of vanilla for me. It's not that I hate it. I really don't hate it. There are a few songs on here that I think are pretty decent. but I'm not going to say it hasn't aged well. I mean, sure, the production is terrible on it. The mix leaves a lot to be desired, as does the mastering of this. I listened to it on CD, as I just showed here not long ago.
Which is worse from a technical point of view? Is it the mix or is it the mastering that ruins it?
It's the master, because the mix sounds like it was decent. When they went into the mastering with it, they obviously over limited it, like put like a heavy limiter on it, like really brick walled it. Like I have one of these ones called the L2 limiter, and if you like take the threshold and the output level and kind of like put them together in unison and put it down and then drop the threshold a bit more, you could get it like so loud, but it'll never clip. But it like you can't listen to more than 15 minutes of it like that before your ears start screaming for mercy. You know what I mean? Like it's
mercy.
If they would have just dumped down the level of it a bit more and not like limited it so hard, I think it would have been actually not too bad a sounding album. It sounds like the mix was all there, like everything was like audible decently. The vocals were good and so there, but it just got too caught in the the whole loudness wars situation. But I mean, other than that, I think that there are some songs on here that are pretty memorable in some ways, maybe not good ways, but some ways there are some decent songs on here. But for me, the thing that I find interesting about this record is that they ended with this record. I really thought that they would have maybe did one more record after this. The fact that they just ended it on Monster seemed a little melodramatic. I don't know. I think I was expecting one more. I really, really did. I thought they were going to do one more, kind of ended on a high note, but I almost get the feeling that they were thinking that they just, if they would have did that, approached it that way, that there would have been too much pressure to make the Kiss record, and it would never have held up to people's expectations.
Yeah, I think they didn't do another record because of Lonnie's expression on the cruise when they did how many songs, Lonnie?
5 monster tracks on the cruise.
Oh,
yeah,
that's great.
Lucky you.
No, it was fantastic. I was really excited.
Yeah, would you rather have a lip sync rehearsal?
I'd rather have what they did on Kiss Cruise 1. That's why I want the Kiss Cruise 2. Thinking I was going to get something in that vein. Instead, I got 5 songs off of Monster.
What about the Kiss Cruise where they went into I right at the end? I was talking with someone about that the other day. Wow. I mean, imagine that. After Rock and Roll All Night, kicking straight into I. Or was it The Oath? It was one of the older songs that year. Blew my mind. All right, so let's get into this ranking. 13 songs, obviously maximum of 62 points available, if everyone agrees. And there was very little agreement. It's really an album that Daniel, I think, did a good idea of tolerable songs, middle-of-the-road songs, and not very tolerable songs, just dividing it into 3 groups in essence. And that's probably the best way to approach it. But instead, we've done rankings, so let's get started. And we'll go through these one by one. So in last place, Last Chance, 11 points. That really did pretty much end up near the bottom, or surprisingly, it's not the least favorite of any one of us, but it is overall the least favorite. So, Ken, let's get started with you on Last Chance.
Yeah, Last Chance. I think there's a reason they put it towards the end of the album. There's really nothing. It seems forced to me. The forced writing of the song. It really does nothing for me. And it's semi-memorable, but it's as Skipper, I probably don't even make it to that song. It's like, okay, I've stopped, There's a few other songs on this that I'll go and listen to, but there's some other ones I just don't want to listen to them, So not a great song.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that Ken, Lonnie, Mark, and Daniel all have it as their second least favorite song. So that's probably one of the few areas of consensus. Mark, Last Chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how Daniel put it. Like, how did he rank the 2? One of them were good songs and memorable and non-memorable. Okay, so so I kind of agree with that, because for me, there are just songs that I can recall when I think of the title and how it goes, and they're just ones on this album that I couldn't tell you how it goes even now after listening to that album for 4 or 5 days straight now. And this is one of those ones that just seems like at this point in their career they had like this little sheet that they kind of like put in the studio, like a clip. Okay, guys, intro, verse, pre-chorus section, back to verse. They had like this structure. Guitar solo here for Tommy, chorus out. It's like, just seems like they had this little formulaic thing. Let's keep it between 3 minutes. Gene, let's keep yours under 3 minutes. 2 minutes 59, and there's none of the songs in here, except for my top 5, I find, are the ones that I think that are the most memorable songs to me on the album. But this one just seems very blah. It could have been on any album. It could have been by any band. It could have been something left over from Black and Blue for all I know, and I would have believed it. So I just found it very unmemorable.
Yeah, so Daniel divided his songs into great tunes, okay tunes, and subpar. Ken.
You already asked me.
Did I?
It's Lonnie's turn.
Well, Lonnie, come on, gotta correct me.
Well, Last Chance is very unmemorable, and I guess that's why I had it so low. It's just there's nothing about it that makes you want to go back and listen to it. To be honest with you, it's just so bland, and it does feel forced. To follow up Ken's point, just like the lyrics, I think are like maybe like some lyrics that like Paul had sitting around, like, oh, I like this line, I'd like to use this in a song. So open the door and let the night come crawling in. Ooh, I like that. I'll save that for something. But then it doesn't really go anywhere with it. And he like, take a bite at the core of the original sin. Ooh, that's cool. I like that. But there's nothing. It doesn't go anywhere with those lyrics. They're just kind of there. So it's just very unmemorable to me. It's not a memorable solo. There's not anything really going on.
I think Julian needs to oil his chair, because it's very squeaky. Anyway.
I can't hear it.
I thought it was me, so I muted myself.
I think it's Julian. Anyway, that's okay.
But there's nothing memorable about it, so that's why I have it so low in my rankings. It's just like Mark said, so it could be on any Kiss album. It's just very bland and it's just here it is. There's nothing memorable about it whatsoever.
I'm going to be the squeaky wheel of this podcast. There you go. Yeah, Last Chance. I mean, it's got to be one of the worst album closers. It's just so humdrum, mundane. I mean, musically it's all right. It's like a foundation that could have been built on, but it's like they just ran out of gas, as you guys have already mentioned. So it's pretty low down there. All right, moving on.
Let me just say something quickly.
Mute.
You had your chance.
Yeah, I know. But in the release of this, they have like quotes or information about the songs, right? A commentary. And Paul Stanley, about this song, he says, I didn't want the album to just peter out. I wanted to go out with the same impact, vitality, danger, and what's that, Jolie? The verb that it started with.
Joie de vivre.
De vivre. Okay, there you go. It's about going for it. And so anyway, it's made it sound like he wanted to go out with a bang, but it really didn't go out.
Going out with a bang?
It's lacking that.
Disappointed.
It's lacking that je ne sais quoi. So, yeah, Paul, I can do that too. All right. Yeah, so no, it totally doesn't do any of that. So right here, right now does, but that wasn't on the actual album. All right, let's move on. How's Shadow, by the way, Mark?
Good. He's doing a lot better. Thank you for your shout out, by the way.
No problem. All right, so in 12th place on 18 points, and that's quite a big jump from 11, is the most god-awful song I think Kiss has written, Take Me Down Below. Lonnie?
You guys broke up on my Wi-Fi. I didn't hear what the song was.
Take Me Down Below.
Oh.
Well, don't actually, but...
It's not good. I listened to... It's not good.
It's not good. Understatement of the year.
Again, very forced with we gotta have a song with Gene and Paul, changing, verses, that works well. People like it when we do that. So they did, and we gotta squeeze in some sleazy type, sexual type lyrics in there too. That, that's part of our formula type thing. Seems really, really forced, and just doesn't work at all, really. You know what I mean? It's, a lot of sexual innuendos from guys in their 60s. It's one thing when you write Christine 16 when you're in your 20s. It's another thing you write Take Me Down Below and you're 64. And I don't think it really works as well. And it's just not good to just be.
Okay, you know what? Honestly, I think that's a complete understatement. That this is the worst song of the year. It is the worst piece of drivel I've ever heard. This song. Okay, let me tell you here. I saw her standing there across the room, a glass of wine and some cheap perfume. Total Gene crap. Next thing I knew, she was standing right next to me. I told her I had a submarine. Okay, really? Okay, really?
She said, I know exactly what you mean.
Submarine sandwich?
I'm surprised, with Paul, guys, if you want to do an album again, I got to be in charge. That he let that go, on a record like that. Okay, I know he's going to say, well, it's Gene and, it's his type of writing, but come on, man. Really? I mean, the man is already in his 60s at this point. And they're still talking about his submarine and all this other shit. Come on, man. I mean, I know it's going to be still has to be sexual innuendo, and I understand all that, and I have nothing against it. I love those kind of records that they did in the 70s, but come on. You can still bring that message across without having to write such complete crap lyrics.
Well, maybe they heard Torpedo Girl and said, oh, we could do a song like that.
About submarines,
yeah.
Yeah, maybe not. All right, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everyone else. They quote about that Paul Stanley says that's always been something, the sexual double entendre. It's something always been part of who we are to one degree or another. He says it's not all about saving the whales. But anyway.
When was it ever about saving the whales?
They never wrote a song like that was serious, really. So maybe World Without Heroes, that would be about the serious thing they've ever
No,
written.
they've never written a song about social meaning.
Yeah, that's true. They kept out of that stuff. But yeah, the song is just this little, like Lonnie said, they're in the 60s. It's not. It's kind of a forced song because you're trying to write that kind of subject. And probably your fan base is actually a lot older too. You're older, they're older. It's like you're not writing really for the fan base anymore. You're forcing it as if you were, in your 20s and writing it for a 15-year-old or something like that.
When you write a song like that in your 20s, it's not forced, and it just comes off more natural, and you're not forcing out cheesy lyrics.
Believable.
It's one, it's believable, and two, I think you're going to come up with better sexual innuendo type lyrics in your 20s than you are in your 60s too.
I mean, to make it more believable, he would have to say that he had to get his Viagra first to show her the submarine, right?
That's what the torpedoes. It's Viagra pills.
Oh man,
Oh
is my
boy.
microphone too hot? Like, am I too loud? Like, I'm
No.
sometimes noticing people are pulling their
Too
ear.
loud.
No. I've got my blood pressure is wacky today, so it doesn't like the
Oh, okay.
headphones.
Fair.
No, there's a difference between if Paul's 1982 to 84 raps were a song, it would be this. Because he used to do some god-awful intros to, and long-winded stories to Love Gun in particular, which were just, preaching to the 13-year-old boys who'd never been near it. And this song isn't double entendre. It's not innuendo. It's not anything. It's just vulgar. And maybe I got old. It's crass. I mean, it just tries so hard to be catchy and edgy. But listen to Walk This Way or Christine 16 or Take Me or Making Love. It's none of those things. It's just way out there. So maybe maybe my 14-year-old is deceased, but I did not like it then. I don't like it now. And it is Mark and my least favorite song on this album, so let's move on from there. Marginally better in 11th place on 23 points is Eat Your Heart Out. And who heard that god-awful a cappella intro to that? Mark, let's start with you.
This song is kind of in the middle for me. I mean, the very first time I ever heard this song, I thought that the a cappella beginning at the beginning was kind of clever. Now, keep in mind, this is something that I thought, because I had never heard them do something like that, not to my memory at least, that they ever did an a cappella introduction to a song like that. But at that time, I thought it was interesting, and it's not the worst song that Gene has been involved with, and to me it kind of stood out more than the other stuff that I ranked much lower. I mean, on my list, I'm pretty sure I had a number 7, so kind of right dead in the middle there. I thought musically was pretty good. I thought Tommy played pretty good in this. Usually, I find that when my songs that people kind of disagreed with in comparison, I think the reason why I have them higher than some other people's is because I think Tommy might have did something, that I enjoyed more in the song, or maybe there was a vocal melody that I liked better than maybe some of the other people didn't agree with. But usually I find that when the song sticks out more, I find it's because somebody stepped up to the plate a lot more, like Tommy, or Eric Singer's drumming is exceptionally good in this song. But in this song, I kind of think that Tommy did a good job. I think it was maybe his guitar solo. I can't remember. See what I mean? I can't remember offhand what specifically it was. And that's the problem with this album. Because when we talk about my top 4 or 5 songs on here, I can definitely point out specifically why they are in that position. But the other songs, no.
No, lacking memorable stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Ken, you had it nearly as least popular as me.
Middle 7. That's sit on my list. I mean, it's an okay song. I guess the acapella stuff was actually not intended. According to Paul, it was an impromptu warm-up type thing. I guess you know how Heaven's on Fire had that warm-up, and they kept it. They did that with this song too, according to Paul. So, but otherwise, yeah, the song's okay. It's just the middle. It's right in the middle for me. That's where I put it. It's just okay. It could have been a lot better. It probably could have written obviously something a lot better, or Gene could have, because it's Gene. He solely wrote this song. So, yeah, not too memorable, just okay.
Lonnie.
Lonnie is frozen like a statue. Darn it.
Lonnie.
Oh, well, we worked through those technical issues. It's just a throwaway for me. It doesn't do much. It's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
But it's certainly not memorable either. Oh, welcome back, Lonnie. Your thoughts on Eat Your Heart Out?
Wow.
Did you get out the new earphones? Oh, he froze up again.
Yeah.
Struggling today, boys.
That's all right.
Um,
Eat your heart out. Oh, you. We'll loop back to you. Okay. All right. So
Next
is going to be in 10th place on 28 points. The Devil Is Me. I see a trend here. A lot of Gene involvement on these. Ken, since it's Gene, start with you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. The Devil Is Me. I actually liked it more when I first got the album, but then it's another forced kind of thing. Reminds me of his, Family Jewels kind of stuff. Where I forget what he said at the beginning. It reminds me of that Gene. So to me, it is a little forced, the devil trying to get the evil kind of thing going for his persona, makeup persona, but it's just okay. Again, it's towards the bottom. It's a 9 for me on my list, so it doesn't do a whole lot for me. Where I have to, go back and I need to listen to it again and again.
Mark, you ranked this the lowest of all of us, so.
Oh, Gene. This is, again, one of these songs where he's trying so hard to keep that image that he had back in the 70s and, Mr. God of Thunder and this and that. But, look, there's nothing wrong with, having a family now and, having a wife and kids and stuff like that. I mean, like, for somebody who's so convinced that he's such a evil incarnate and such a evil kind of character on stage and stuff like that, this would have been a great, medium here for him to kind of talk about that in more great detail. That the title alone is kind of not bad. The Devil Is Me. So right away you got my attention. But that chorus, come on, man. Again, the devil is me. The devil is me. I fought myself to be set free. Because the devil is me. Like, really? That there's only one different line in that whole thing. It's the devil is me 3 times and then one different line. Gene, if you're such a devil, you couldn't have thought of more lyrics than that for a chorus? I mean, come on, man. This is what I mean by some of these songs just seem mailed in, like, completely. And I don't understand why Paul, again, who was putting himself on the high position chair that I'm Mr. Producer and nothing happens unless I say so. Paul, you really effed up, man. Like, these songs, I would never have let this go. There's no way in hell. Okay, I'm just you can constantly see me looking at these booklets here. It's terrible. So anyways,
Paul asked Gene to write a God of Thunder type song.
And this was it
for this, and that was it. And he even says, quoting Paul, "This song was a great one for Gene."
Oh yeah.
Lyrically, I wanted something that epitomized the character that we all identify with him, but everyone has the devil inside.
Well, it's actually true because The Devil Is Me is a great title for a song by Gene.
Yeah.
And the effort that he put into the lyrics is a clear representation of the quality of his contributions to Kiss at many times. Yeah. So he nailed the mission that Paul wanted. It represents Gene in ways that Gene doesn't fathom.
Okay, you know what bugs me about that, though? Maybe I'm taking this too seriously. I know clearly you guys are having a lot of fun with it, but to me, they knew that this was coming near the end of the road for them, literally as far as writing records went. Okay, so why did they write such substandard stuff? I don't get it. I mean, if they honestly believe that it's not substandard, that's more alarming to me then.
Well, Gene's vomit bucket of lyric clips was pretty empty by that stage, so you gets what you gets. Be happy he brought in as many songs as he did. I mean, he was even recycling himself towards the end of his career.
I would have rather more Tommy songs, honestly, if that's what I was going to get. Anyway, sorry.
All right, Lonnie, welcome back. So while you're gone, we've talked about Eat Your Heart Out and The Devil Is Me. So take both of those for us, please.
So eat your heart out. No, I agree with that. That acapella to start off with was so dumb and forced. And I don't care if you were practicing in the studio and it sounds like an animalized thing. Like, just like the animalized howl, we put that on there. Well, that may be well and true. But just because you were practicing in the studio, Shaz, it sounded so cool. It doesn't sound that cool that we had to put it on there. That's dumb. It really is. I mean, even the first time I heard it, when I was listening to the album the first time, why? And like, well, is this song like 2 minutes long? Like that we had to lengthen it out or something? Like for the B side of the record? No, there's no reason for it at all. So so from the jump, you're just kind of like, what is this? And then the rest of the song is just unmemorable from there. It's a cool Gene line, like, I like that. Eat your heart out. I can write a song called "Eat Your Heart Out," basically, and that's what the song basically is.
It had been kicking around since ¡77.
For sure. So it's just so forced. The album is just so forced. I keep using that word every time you guys come to me, and it just really is. And then you guys were just talking about "The Devil Is Me." Well, I'm going to sound like a repeat record right here. We got to have a demonic Gene song. So here it is. Again, same, almost the same thing. Just kind of forced. "The devil is me." That's dark and creepy. We'll go with that type thing. And yeah, Tommy plays some good guitar on these songs, but just it's the whole album's just. And I don't know. You guys were saying earlier, like, I was surprised they didn't do a third album. This is why they didn't do a third album.
Maybe.
Yeah, but it's got across this album in comparison with Sonic Boom, where you've got all these elements that jump out at you from different eras. You know, like pointing out Asylum shit or stuff that harkens back to Rock and Roll Over or, even The Elder. This one has more of a musical identity across it of being the current lineup. And maybe that is why they didn't do another one, because they realized that the musical identity of that band was really not worth expressing on record. I don't know. While we've still got you, Lonnie, let's go straight into your favorite song on the album in 9th place on 30 points, right here, right now, the bonus track. I'm actually kind of disappointed that that's so far down the list, because it's one I do like a lot as well.
It is my favorite song on the album, and it's, to me, when I started ranking these songs, it wasn't even close. I really like that song. It's Kiss to me. Actually, it's kind of motivational. It's almost like an anthem. It's kind of pump you up, get your blood flowing type thing. And that's one reason why I love Kiss, is because it does that for me with a lot of different songs. It sounds, and I know people are going to say, well, it sounds like it should be on the soundtrack for a movie, because it kind of does sound like it should be on a soundtrack for a movie, and maybe that's why it wasn't put on the album proper. Maybe they thought that somebody would pick it up, and then when they toured it.
Who doesn't just laugh?
Rocky 17, still fighting.
Right here, right now.
Still here, yeah.
And then when
I like his optimism that someone's going to pick up a Kiss song for a soundtrack.
I don't know. Come on.
I thought that was Ken
laughing. I'll start laughing at you schmucks. And then, but then in 13, when they toured Canada in 13, they did the lyric video for the bonus track off of Monster. If you guys remember that or not?
I remember that. Yeah.
They never played the song live, but they tried to promote it. Maybe it was just the revive sales of the album. I really don't know. But I like the song. It's my favorite song on the album. So let's hear you guys.
I'm just trying to see where. Oh, it didn't make it near the top of my list, but it kept getting bumped down. Mark, right here, right now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that Lonnie spoke about was probably the reason I didn't like it. I mean, it's not a terrible song, but it's just that I didn't. That whole, like, ultra motivational kind of, soundtrack song, it's just so. You kept saying, forced. that to me seemed forced. You know what I mean? Like I just think that is like totally Paul Stanley's wheelhouse, that kind of song. I mean, obviously he's decent at writing those kind of songs, but there's just something about it that still didn't connect with me on it. It just seemed like you said, when you hear it, I'm expecting it to be on one of those, those Saturday afternoon TV specials that are on, like, some actor from 20 years ago who's come doing a comeback, and he's getting back into Major League Baseball or something. It's just one of those kind of songs that I can understand why he wrote it, but it just didn't connect with me. I mean, I'm surprised actually that you guys like it as much as you guys did. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just was surprised, to be honest.
All right, Ken.
I liked it. No, I didn't like it.
Wow.
I mean, it's okay. I mean,
it's bottom of your bloody list.
It is the bottom of my list. I think there's a reason they left it off. It doesn't fit with the rest of the album. And actually, the rest of the album is kind of all over the place.
So how does it not fit if the album's all over the place?
It just doesn't fit. Yeah.
It would have been a more upbeat final track on the album than Last Chance.
For sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Yes. But it's an attempt to write another Say Yeah or something else like that, but it just doesn't really work. It doesn't grab me at all, and that's okay. I think there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with our views on a lot of this album, because I think it's one of those albums that only certain songs you're gonna like from this album. You're not gonna like the whole album from beginning to end. So, and this is just one of the songs that I just don't think it's that great, and I don't want to listen to it again.
Wow, that's quite severe. Daniel has it middle of the pack in his list, so it's, I guess, what is it? Okay. Yeah, that's about right. All right, moving on. Ken, take us back to the Stone Age in 8th place on 31 points.
How is this ahead of that?
Yeah, I mean, this is above middle pack, pretty high on my list. Not high, but above middle. I think it's all right. It's a little different, interesting song. I like the riff in it. I think it's pretty cool. The chorus is, decent. Again, not fantastic, but it's decent. It's good enough to be I can remember it. I can remember the chorus, though it's nothing crazy great. But it's a decent song. It's not bad, so I'm okay with it.
All right, Lonnie. I went to Ken first. Yeah, I went to Ken first because he ranked it the highest out of us, and you ranked it your least favorite on the album.
No.
I think this song is god awful. It sounds like the intro to like a Saturday morning cartoon show. Back to the Stone Age. It's like a guy with a club on his shoulder.
Well, that's what it's about.
It's terrible. This is Kiss we're talking about, and we're singing about Back to the Stone Age. It's like a guy in a DeLorean or something. It's god awful. I mean, what? I heard the song lyric before. I heard the song title before I even heard the song, and I was just like, Back to the Stone Age. Like, that sounds stupid. And then I heard the song, and it's even worse. No, this song is god awful. I don't know. I'm so surprised that it's middle of the pack, because I ranked it so low. That tells me some of you guys ranked it pretty decently.
Yes.
Mark and Ken.
Yes.
Mark, explain yourself.
You're incorrect. You're incorrect, Julian, because it was not Ken who had it high. Ken had it as number 5, Back to the Stone Age. I had it number 2 on my list. Okay? Because, like I was saying before, on this album, there are at least a couple songs that I actually remembered. This is one of them, and I think this is Gene's best song on the record to me. Okay, the rest of the stuff that I think he did on here is bunk. It's not good. The rest of it. I mean, honestly, this sounds like the most Gene Simmons song on the album to me. I mean, it's not to say that it's his best written song ever, but this album isn't good to begin with. So it's not like we're aiming high here, right? So, but that's how I kind of looked at these songs. The top 5, it's interesting when I look at it now. Each one of those songs represents a different member of the band. Okay, and I think that those are their strongest songs on the album. And to me, look at you think that that's terrible lyrics? I mean, I just finished reading out a bunch of them that were worse about submarines and stuff like that. I mean, at least Back to the Stone Age is like, it's tacky and cheesy, but at least it isn't rude and vulgar. I mean, at least it's, you know, it's
pick your poison.
It still sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon. In the beginning, there was darkness and there was light, and you can see like the intro to the cartoon going on.
We're also talking about a guy who thinks that he's like a monster on stage.
I'm not sitting here defending Take Me Down Below. I'm not saying that's lyrical genius, but this is terrible.
I know, but when has Gene Simmons ever written good stuff? I mean, really, lyrically, he was never
a Kiss podcast.
Totally.
See you tonight.
I mean, he hasn't written really great lyrics. He's not the best lyric writer in the band. I'm sorry to tell everybody, but you know, but this is, to me, and this is how I'm kind of ranking this to begin with, is that the stuff that I can actually remember from this album. And from Gene Simmons, this is the one song that kind of still stuck in my head. Yeah, it has a kind of tacky melody and stuff like that, but there, you know, a lot of Gene stuff is tacky and cheesy, and he'll even be the first one to admit it himself.
Yeah, it would have been a great movie a great soundtrack song for, you know, a Flintstones movie or something.
Exactly. It's Barney Rubble meets Cookie Monster and writes a song.
Back to the Stone Age.
Hey Fred.
Save that thought. Yeah.
All right, let's go. Middle of the road now. Out of This World, 32 points. Lonnie.
Oh, Out of This World's fine. Where do I have it at? I don't even remember. I have it kind of middle of the road, don't I? I have it middle of the road. It's fine. Tommy's gonna get a song. It's gonna be about space. But it's better than I thought it was gonna be, actually, and it's okay. And they liked it well enough that they played it live a few times outside of the cruise that I saw. They played it a few times, I think, in South America on that tour they went to right afterwards. And it probably didn't go over real well, and they quickly reverted back.
No, because they still remember Lonnie in the audience on the cruise.
Like, this is bullshit. This is what I paid for. So it's fine. I like it better than When Lightning Strikes, probably off of Sonic Boom, actually. It's pretty good. Tommy does a good job for doing his own thing and getting a lead vocal. So, I've had some negative things to say about Monster, but I think as we get closer to this stuff, I'll have some more positive things to say. And this is probably one of them. It's really not. It's not bad, but it's decent though. It really is.
Yeah, it's tolerable. I mean,
it is.
Yeah, it's like a filling with Novocaine. It's okay. No, I actually ranked it the same as you, and I had Tommy inscribed lyrics from it on the guitar I got from him. So, I like it. I think it's a good vocal as well by him. It's a decent song, but it's just middle of the road kind of Kiss stuff. Mark.
I like it. I mean, I ranked it third on my list. Like we said, we're expecting Tommy to be the new spaceman, so he's going to have the space lyrics now. I agree with Lonnie 100%. This is better than Lightning Strikes for sure. But I mean, overall, I think Tommy Thayer just sounds more comfortable on this album than he did in Sonic Boom. I think Sonic Boom is still a better record, but I think that he just sounds more comfortable in his role and how and it shows in his playing more. I think it just sounds overall better, his performance on this record, and I think he sung it pretty good. You know what? No, let me correct myself. I think he sung it really good, this song. Okay, now I know I'm going to get hate for saying this, but he sung it much better than anything Ace sung on record. I mean, at least I like his vocals better than Ace. Okay, now Ace was never known to be a great singer or something like that. Ace is the great guitar player of the band, and that's for sure. He was fantastic, highly inspirational and influential, right? But I think though that Tommy is a better singer overall than Ace is. And Ace might not even disagree with that. But, I think that this song is something that needed to be on this album, because I think they need it again to represent everybody from the band on record. And I think that this is a good representation of Tommy. And from what I remember, they played this song quite a bit. It was part of his solo spot section, from what I remember. So,
yeah.
Why do you hate Ace Frehley?
Yeah, Mark. Yep. We're not going to be able to help you out. We're not going to be able to help you out on the comments. I think you'll have to read all the comments about what you just said today. But there we go. It's actually Daniel's least favorite song on the album on his ranking. Daniel. Ken, you ranked it pretty decently as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys about the song. It's a good song. I enjoy it when I hear it, when it comes on. It's a well-written song, and the chorus is catchy. And like Mark said, Tommy, sings it well. Does a good job. It's the subject matter is kind of forced, but it is what it is. But it still works okay. So I enjoy it when it comes on.
Okay. Anyone else want to bash Ace Frehley before we move on? All right. Moving on into sixth place. 38 points, so we're starting to really separate the men from the boys here. Shout Mercy, Lonnie.
It's middle. It was middle of the road for me, I think. It's okay. Shout Mercy. It's almost. Where did I have? I did have it right in the middle. It's good. It's good. Some decent Paul lyrics to it. A good Kiss feel type song to it. Not my favorite song off there, not my least favorite, but kind of middle of the road, but not terrible. It's okay. I don't know.
Feels like Paul's lifting a Gene title here, but it's also in the top half for me. It's better than Never Enough or whatever on or Stand on the previous album. Better song than both of those. So, Ken, what does your little book tell you?
Well, actually, Paul says.
What's this Paul say?
My early days were spent every Friday and Saturday night at the Fillmore East,
listening to Solomon Burke.
Yeah, Shout Mercy have the kind of passion and urgency that made so many of the bands I saw so unrelenting and powerful. That music and how it made me feel is in my blood and is why I do what I do. But anyway, so I guess it's about that, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Humble Pie, some of that stuff.
Yeah.
James Brown, some of the R&B acts as well with that kind of urgency. I can actually see that now a bit more.
Yeah. So it's an okay song. Again, it's a middle road for me, kind of like Lonnie. I think the chorus could have been a little better, but it's not one. It's just a middle road. It's good, but not great. It's not horrible. So it's just a middle road. Good,
right.
Just good.
Yeah, Daniel had this probably the highest ranked of all of us. Mark, you're the same as Ken here.
Yeah, I mean it's not a bad song. I mean, it's a decent song. It's right in the middle for me as well, and I think why it's in the middle and not higher is because when Paul is on point, and whenever he writes a classic song like a Love Gun or Come On and Love Me or something, there's some kind of Paul sprinkling of magic on it that he does. There's always something in there that gives it that little extra element that makes it stand out and makes it a true classic song. And I mean, he has lots of them, Detroit Rock City, Take Me, lots of songs that he's done throughout the years are like that, and I just think that element is sort of missing in here, and I think, and I blame some of that, not all of it, because I mean there are some good songs on here that he wrote. There's two that are, in my opinion, just fantastic. We'll get to those later, I'm sure, but I think because of his production duties on here, I think that if he would have let somebody else take the reins, I think he could have focused a little bit more on the writing, and I think we would have had even better songs from Paul, I think.
All right. We're going to go straight to my favorite song on the album, and I'm very disappointed that this far down the list. It's actually in a tie. Long Way Down, second single off the album. I actually think this is a fantastic song, and I think it's also an excellent Paul vocal. I think it's very well crafted. It kind of falls into that realm of lost great Kiss songs, including Tomorrow, Turn on the Night, Long Way Down. I have just liked this from the moment I heard it. There's just something about it that catches my ear, and it's got a power to it musically for my tastes. So, Lonnie.
I have it third from the top. I enjoy it very much so. It's one of the songs I did play on the cruise that I went on. Deservingly so. If you're going to play 5 songs off the album, Long Way Down should definitely, in my opinion, be one of them. I think, you could hear throughout this album Paul kind of fighting it a little bit vocally. But I think this song really comes through very well. And the song itself is well structured. I think it's a great song altogether. It's definitely one of the better songs on the album. Thought it'd be ranked higher in our combined list.
Yeah, well, thanks to Daniel at this third from bottom, and Mark, it's down there. So, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I had a 9th. I had a 4th from the bottom. I mean, honestly, I mean, look, it's not a bad song. It's not terrible. I mean, but again, it's just, I couldn't recite any of it to you. I mean, and I did listen to this album, pretty much every day for the last 5-6 days. It's just not something that stuck with me. Now, does that mean that Julian or somebody else is incorrect in their assessment of it? No, it's not. It maybe there's the different things that appeal to Julian when he listens to songs than I do, but it just didn't connect with me. And again, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. Paul Stanley, I don't think, has written too many stinkers. He's generally a good songwriter. He knows what works with him and what doesn't work with him. He knows what key works for him to sing and stuff like that. But I just think that there are 2 songs on this album that I'm gonna just be gushing over Paul Stanley with on this album. But this one isn't it.
Well, Ken agrees with me, and that's the only validation I need.
Okay.
And Ken we trust.
Interest, yes. It was number 1 on my list. Yeah, I mean, it has that, kind of Zeppelin kind of little feel in it. And it's probably maybe his best lyrics that he wrote on this album, talking about how, life will come up and bite you and take you down, right? So it's a really good song. It's really different. It's not your typical Paul Stanley song, and maybe that's one of the reasons I like it, because it's really different. And I just like the way the chord structure is and everything in it. So for me, it's my favorite song on the album. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I hope this doesn't get Eric Singer fired, but it actually tied with All for the Love of Rock and Roll. And you know what? That's Daniel's favorite song on the album. And Mark rates this pretty highly. Lonnie rates it second favorite. I have it middle of the pack, but it's also a really good song. So I think what probably is going to save Eric Singer's bacon is that Paul Stanley wrote the song. So, Lonnie, let's start with you.
I really like it. I think it's anthematic, which is very in Kiss style. Kind of tells a story a little bit, but has a little bit of an anthem to it, and it just talks about it's something like that a lot of Kiss fans can relate to. All for the love of rock and roll. I mean, that's a big reason why we're here and why we're here sitting here talking about Kiss. Is how much we love the music. And when they did it on the cruise, and I wish you guys could have seen this. I think they had high aspirations for this song. Because when they did it on the cruise, there was this whole background thing going on the whole time with the Kiss fans in makeup, and then like a 10 years but like a Mount Rushmore, like that looked like the four members of the band. They didn't put that together, this whole montage together that played behind the band for like the 2 shows on the cruise and then a couple shows in South America, just for it to be dropped. I think they had high aspirations for the song to wind up in a set list moving forward, at least in an Soaring Arena type tour, in 13 or 14 as they continued to promote this album. And the fact that it got dropped really quickly and never really got any other treatment outside of the Kiss Cruise and that South American tour that followed right after it, I guess tells that the crowd just wasn't into it. Like, well, I don't know this one. Well, I know Strutter, and I know Love Gun, but I don't know. The crowd just kind of sits there, and hence why the song and a lot of the others were dropped. I really like the song, and I thought it worked well live. Even as much as I come on here and complain about them playing 5 Monstrous songs on the cruise that I went on, I enjoyed this one, and I thought it worked well live.
Yeah, at least they tried. Iron Maiden's going to make you listen to half of Shenzitsu, or Shih Tzu, or whatever that last one was. I mean, A Matter of Life and Death. I mean, I remember the last time I saw Maiden, it was, The Red and the Black, or whatever it was, and I was nodding off. But
Book
they
of
make
Souls.
Yeah, Book of Souls, thank you. So, it's like Coming Home meets Beth meets Room Service, and it's perfect for Eric's voice. Very cool song, actually. Ken?
Yeah, actually, I would have ranked this higher on my list. I don't know why I ranked it as low as I did, but whatever. It's a good song, and good vocal by Eric. The quote from Paul on this one, regarding this one, it says he was trying to go back to the vibe of Mr. Speed, he says. It's a certain kind of guitar riff style. Eric's got such a great voice. I wanted him to sing a song that was somewhat autobiographical. I wrote it with him in mind, even though at a certain point I wanted to take it back. But honestly, I couldn't sing it any better than he does. I wanted to celebrate him with a song that says who he is. So, yeah, it's a good song about, love for rock and roll, and there's nothing else to say about it. But I should have ranked it higher. I don't know. Probably I would have ranked it about 4 spots higher than I actually ranked it here. I don't know why I did, but it is what it is.
Yeah. No, I think Paul nailed it for Eric perfectly, and Eric, of course, nailed it vocally. Mark?
Yeah. So I really like this song. And I'm showing the Kiss Cruise one that Lonnie's talking about there now. Just so people want to take a reference to it, then there you go. I really, really like this song. I think that one of the smartest things that Paul did is made sure that, once again, Eric Singer had a song on this album. I was happy with the song he did on Sonic Boom. I was happy with the song on here. I think he's a great singer. I think that he should, be capitalized on or utilized more in a live environment because he has a great voice. This song is good. And this is, again, another example of what I was talking about earlier. I was saying that there are songs in this record that I think Paul did a good job on. This is one of them. This is the song that I think he really, hit the ball out of the park with this one. It's so good. And the fact that he didn't have the ego to say, no, man, I'm going to sing this one. Oh, for the love, that's me, man. No, he let Eric do it. Great idea. My only question to Paul Stanley is, why the hell couldn't you have written a song like this for Peter for Cypress Circus?
Exactly. I was going to say that. I finally found my way versus All for the Love of Rock and Roll. That says it all of what he thinks of both of those drummers.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine Peter singing? I mean, Peter probably could have sang it pretty good, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if he would have been able to perform it live as good as, but that's beside the point. I think that it would have been it's a good Cat song. You know what I mean? But Eric Singer, he's a great, fantastic singer. So I'm really happy that he did that, and that's why in my ranking it's number 5. And like I said, my top five are all songs I think are stellar songs on this album, and that's one of them.
All right, so top 3, 47 points. Wall of Sound, Ken.
Yeah, Wall of Sound is a really cool song. I just like it, the rock feel of it. I think it's Gene's best. Obviously, I believe it's Gene's best song on the album that he wrote. And
with a little help from Tommy and Gene and Paul.
I think, yeah, exactly. There's more than just him writing it, so it came out really good, and I like the groove of it, and it's catchy enough to keep me going, so keep me awake. So yeah, good song.
Lonnie,
I like it. I really do. I've talked on the show a couple times that if you rearrange the songs on Monster, it works a little bit better. And I thought that just calling the album Monster really doesn't work at all, because I don't know if they had expectations to have like a tie-in with Monster Energy drink or what, because just Monster doesn't really make sense. But I always thought that if maybe we were due for a Gene lead track and a Gene lead single. What if you call the album Kiss, Wall of Sound? Start off with Wall of Sound, and and you put on the album and you hear that guitar like that has a whole different feel to it. But Gene lead track, it's called Wall of Sound, and that song starts off the album. I think it could have been very different and had a very different feel to it. I really like the song. Definitely Gene's best work on the album, and it's really good. So, what about you, Mark?
Well, I mean, I had it number 6, so that was just out of my top 5, like, of the great songs on there. It is a good song. I think it is good. For me personally, I still like Back to the Stone Age better for Gene on this, but I think that this song is good. It's very well done. One of the things that I think that shows this sort of strength in it is that it has a good bass line to it, very good bass line, and his bass is nicely put up in the mix in this. And it kind of reminds me almost of like a Love Gun song, because it's short. It's one of those like 2 minutes 59 second kind of dealies, right? And I think that's one of those perfect kind of lengths for these kind of songs. In and out, bing bam, there you go. And I think that it's, again, well written. His voice sounds good in it. But again, just my top 5 are just the ones that I thought just stuck out more in my mind. So it's not to say this is a bad song. It's right near that echelon of where I think the top material is.
Best Gene vocal on the album for me. And going back to Lonnie's idea of if it was the lead-off track in the album title, well, we'd be referring to it as Brick Wall of Sound from the mastering.
Yeah.
We had bad things to say about it. That would be.
Yeah, but it's a good song, and because it is sub 3 minute, it's right in that nice little, quick tempo, straight to the point. All the fat's been trimmed off it, and it really comes across that way. But Gene's vocal is great on it, and musically, it's an interesting piece of music as well. Ken?
Yeah, did I already say that?
I don't know. I can't keep track. You know that. You should know it by now. Middle of the pack for Daniel. All right. So, unless I'm skipping anyone, now the 2 top songs are clearly, separated with 52 points. Freak. Let's see who rated this the highest. Well, Ken, Daniel, and I all had it as our 3rd most favorite song on the album, which is why it's this high up on the list. So let's start with Lonnie.
It's good. I listened to it. I've listened to Monster quite a bit this week. But I was listening to it on the way home today, and the one problem I have with it, I like it. It's kind of anthematic, like Kiss fans can get behind it type thing. We Kiss fans were always different, and it's kind of like Paul singing back to us. It's okay to be the different kid in school or the different guy. The one thing I don't like about it is, and all of a sudden we stop and we go, I pledge allegiance to the state of independence. And then we go back and we start singing again. Like, well, that doesn't really need to be in there. And then we do it again at the end. I think that's kind of strange. But other than that, I think it's a good song. I think it's very anthematic type of song where, like, I got streaks in my hair, people point at me and stare. but I don't care, because I am who I, it kind of talks about, I am who I am. I like Kiss, and I don't care if, if other people, if my schoolmates don't, or my friends don't, or whoever. I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of this band, even for that matter. So it is a good song. That's my own little drawback to it, is I don't get why they did that little thing at the end. It's a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep thinking it as a piece of therapy for Paul Stanley. I'm trying to think back to when he came out about his microtia, his ear difference, and whether it actually helped him in some way, because it's like Psycho Circus, but it seems to have a little bit more meaning of what happened, later in Face the Music, and also when he went public about that difference, and the impact that it had on him throughout his life. So, Freak. Yeah, I mean, we're Kiss freaks. Come on, one of the first Kiss websites was Freaks, and a lot of fans have felt like freaks, being ostracized and outcast because of liking the clowns in makeup growing up. So I think for the theme that it takes, it's a much better version than, say, Psycho Circus, But I totally agree with the... I pledge allegiance to... Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You already did that on
work.
Psycho Circus. Just leave it out. Mark.
Yeah, I had this number 4 on mine, and I had this as one of the stellar ones on here. I think it's a good song, really well written. And I remember back when this album came out, I don't know if Julian might remember this or not, but there was an episode of Podcast with Ken Mills and those guys, and they were talking about this song in great detail. They were talking about how this song should have been the first single. This song is the best song on the album. This song represents the Kiss Army. This song should have been done as a duet with Lady Gaga. They were pushing that so much on that podcast. They were saying that should have been done. That was stupidity. They should have did it with her. They should have and that would have made the song huge, and it would have made this album much bigger in the catalog than it is now, and how it sits today in history. All relevant points, I think. Maybe getting Lady Gaga to do it might have been a stretch, even though there was that picture with her and Paul Stanley where he was wearing, the makeup and boots like that, and it was a picture. I'm sure you guys must have saw that one with her.
Yeah.
But I think that the intention was good, the message was good. And this is what I'm talking about before, where you can write a song still at this age that can harken back to the youth and connect to the youth, but you don't have to talk about submarines and other bullshit and try to sound cool like that. You can write a song that lyrically is intelligent enough to do it. And that's why I've always said Gene is not a good lyric writer in this band. Paul Stanley is the best lyric writer in this band. Okay? And I think his lyrics connect more with people, and I think his messages are more on point. Sorry, Ken, I love you, brother, but Gene just sometimes just doesn't rub me the right way there. So, and I know he's your guy. So, but respect to the voice of reason. But again, I think that it's a great song, and I'm glad it's on the record. And I'm surprised it didn't do better, honestly.
Yeah. The Lady Gaga discussion, I think it could still be covered. Take a Miley Cyrus, who's now trying to become the Joan Jett for the next generation, being a bit of a badass rock chick. I mean, she did well at the Taylor Hawkins tributes. Could easily dial that in and have enough of a audience to actually do something with it. And, who knows? Maybe she likes Paul Stanley, too. Okay, Ken. Mark threw some steak knives at you.
Oh, no, that's all right. I know Gene's lyrics are not anything to scream about. It's known. I think some of Gene's best lyrics are probably songs that he never got on an album. But still, that's pushing.
Vinnie Vincent wrote the lyrics, too.
Yeah, that's right. Those ones where Vinny wrote the lyrics were his best. But anyway, Freak's great song, great message. Don't let people, put you down. Just be yourself, be who you are, that sort of thing, which is perfect. I think it's part self autobiographical and part, like you said to the fans. So good song. Again, another song that's way different than Paul normally writes, and it seems those are my favorite songs on this album from him. The ones that don't sound like his typical, songwriting. So, real good song.
Lonnie, did I get you?
You did.
Okay, I started with you. Well, let's start with Mark on number 1. Clear winner, 55 points. It's not really any surprise, is it? Hell or Hallelujah. Mark.
Well, Hell or Hallelujah, in my opinion, is the best song on this album. Hands down, end of story. I mean, I think that they released it first for a reason. I think that if you would have put in like 10 Kiss fans off the street, sat them in the room and played 2 or 3 songs off this album and had one of them as this one, I guarantee everybody would have said that one is the one that should be played first. It's catchy. Yes, it's a rip-off of Burn from Deep Purple. But you know what? The thing is, maybe that's part of the appeal of it, because people love Deep Purple. People love Richie Blackmore's guitar playing. Obviously, Paul Stanley loves Richie Blackmore quite a bit in Deep Purple. But it's a catchy riff, and the chorus is simple to the point. And again, this is one of those kind of lyrics where it's believable. It still kind of touches on the youth factor a bit, a little bit of a rebellious streak in it lyrically, but it's still believable that it could be on a record at that time period. They're not trying to make themselves sound like they're 20. They know that where they are in their life at that point. And I think it works perfectly. Great guitar solo, great drumming. Everything about this song I thought was, top shelf. And the thing is, when they played this live, to me, it sounded like it sat in good with all the other classics that they played that night. It wasn't where you sat there during the Sonic Boom tour and they were playing all these great songs and all of a sudden they did I'm an Animal. And you're like, what's going on here? It just sort of stuck out like a sore thumb. This song didn't stick out like a sore thumb. It fit in perfect with the rest of the classics. That's why I think it is a classic from this album.
Lonnie.
I like it. I didn't have it as high, I think, as a lot of you, even though it's still finished out number 1. Probably because in that time frame, it got played a lot. And then what turned me off is Paul Stanley calling it a modern day classic, and that's not it's fine, but there's a lot of better Kiss songs than this. Calling it I don't know, when I saw him in Vegas, he's just like, oh, it's a modern classic, it's a new classic. It's a good song, but I wouldn't call it a classic Kiss song. And and here, Say Yeah does the same thing to me too. The fact that
which I was going to ask you, what would you rather in the end of the road set list? What would you rather have? Would you rather have Hell or Hallelujah or Say Yeah?
I'd rather have Say Yeah than Hell or Hallelujah.
Wow. Okay.
I honestly would. I think Say Yeah is a better song. Boo yourself. And it's good. I'm not surprised that you got that it is number 1 on the list. But it's not number 1 on my list. It's fine, but it's not my favorite song.
Mark, you're not going to bring Lonnie down. Yingling is coming to Missouri.
I know.
All right, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, I have this number 4 on my list. It's a good song, but yeah, it is a rip-off of, like Mark said, Burn, and also of Kiss themselves. I Stole Your Love. And if they're going to get rid of, Say Yeah, I'd rather them put in I Stole Your Love than Hell or Hallelujah, right? So
yeah, okay,
yeah, obviously, right? So it's a good song. I mean, that's why I have it at 4. It's a good song. But I don't think it's the most original. That's why I think Long Way Down or Freak from Paul are more original.
Let's not go down the original track here, Ken. That's dangerous territory.
It's a color by numbers kind of thing for Paul to do a Hell or Hallelujah. But it worked, and it's a good song. It's okay, it's a good way to lead off the album. So it's good. Yeah, nothing bad to talk
I
about.
would rather hear this than say yeah.
Yeah, same here.
In concert?
In concert, because of bookending the band's career. I would rather it be a song off the last album that they did, just because I think it's more convincing. I always enjoyed hearing it live. I never got tired of it. Catchy as hell. Yeah, it's a complete rip of Burn or I Stole Your Love, but come on, steal from the best. I mean, Paul's admitted that his whole career. If you're going to borrow inspiration from other bands, you're not going to do it from their crap. Well, maybe Gene would, but... So it's a great song. It's upbeat, it's up tempo, and it's uplifting. Because who the hell wants hell when you can have a hallelujah? I'll take the hallelujah any day of the week. All right, let's recap our listing from our ranking of Monster, from Monstrosity to Monstrous. 13th place, Last Chance. Take Me Down Below. Eat Your Heart Out. No, thank you. The Devil Is Not Me. Right Here, Right Now. Back to the Stone Age. Fills out the bottom half of the album. Top half is Out of This World, Shout Mercy, Long Way Down, All for the Love of Rock and Roll, A Wall of Sound, Freak, and the Champion of Champions. It wears a purple headband. Heller Hallelujah. So... have at it, Kiss fans. We got Out of This World and All for the Love of Rock and Roll in the top half of our Monster ranking. How does that sit with you? Yeah.
It should.
I don't see myself listening to this album for a while, though. I mean, we'll be back for its 25th anniversary. I'll be dead by then. That's 15 years henceforth. So don't have to put up with that one. It's fun. Again, we haven't had a Kiss album for 10 years. Since then, we've had Samurai Sun. I think there's 1 or 2 cover songs that have been put out.
Don't touch my ascot.
Don't touch my ascot.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, what was that? Venus and Mars rock show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great
Right.
song. But I'd rather listen to Venus and Mars. So, again, it is what it is. There's... at least it's available for fans to listen to, unlike Sonic Boom, which is still tied down in whatever asinine contract was signed.
Weird.
That they can't even do a
Stan
vinyl.
Kroenke sucks.
What sucks?
Stan Kroenke, who owns the Rantons, tied the Walmart.
Well, there we go. So what do you think about this ranking? What are your top songs? How do you divide Monster for your own listening pleasure? And is it one of those albums that would have been a better EP, or are there just a couple of duds that really dragged the whole thing down? What do you think of the mastering? I did actually find an unofficial remaster of it the other day, but you can't unremaster brick-walled shit. You're just not going to bring it back from the edge that it's been thrown off, unfortunately. Maybe that'll be one that they do fix at some point if they do a reissue of the catalog. All right, that's it. Long show. So for now, from Ken, Mark, Lonnie, and myself, and Daniel, thank you for your ranking. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.